Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church, and I'm here today to share about another miracle that Jesus did in the Gospel of Mark. This one again from chapter 5, and beginning with verse 21, we read these words. Jesus got into the boat again and went back to the other side of the lake, where a large crowd gathered around him on the shore. Then a leader of the local synagogue, whose name was Jairus, arrived. When he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet, pleading fervently with him. My little daughter is dying. Please come and lay your hands on her and heal her so that she might live. Well, let's stop here a second. Jesus is obviously known for miracles. I don't know if that's what Jesus is known for today. I'd like to think that people still believe that way. But I think we're so wrapped up in our culture and our ability to scientifically prove or disprove things, we don't really have a whole lot of room for miracles to occur. But yet, I think they happen all the time, and they particularly happen in situations of healings and sickness. So, what we have here is the head of the synagogue. That's a very important person in Jesus' day. And for him to come to Jesus, well, that was pretty radical. So why does he do it? Well, I think a couple of reasons. One is he knows what he's heard about Jesus. He knows that this man has done things nobody's ever done before. But I think there's another element here, and that's the element that so often hits you and me. I think Jairus was desperate. It says his little daughter is dying. Now, we don't know how he knows his daughter's dying. I guess she's been sick a while, that we don't really know. But he's desperate. He doesn't want to lose his little girl. And gosh, I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to lose my little girl either. And I'm sure you wouldn't. And in fact, I don't want anybody to be sick. I know that we have a huge industry around sickness and nobody ever got sick. That would really destroy our economy. But that's not what's important. What's important is that, well, we want people we love and care about to live a good life. And if you're sick, and particularly if you have something that is going to kill you, you can't do that. And so Jairus does what many people even today do. They turn to Jesus out of desperation. They don't know what else to do. Now, it would be really wonderful if he turned to Jesus because of the reasons the people on the shore were waiting for him. They just wanted to be around him. They knew who he was. They wanted they wanted to be with Jesus. Now, many people today want to be with Jesus and others just want to get what they can get out of him. And I don't know how you are and where you are in your life, but it's a real shame when we see the Son of God as someone to give out favors. And that's about it. On the other hand, if we see him as a companion in life and one who teaches us how we should live and one for whom we strive to live by, well, then we don't really need favors. That's just kind of the extra stuff that comes. But what we see here is that Jesus, without any hesitation, without any, well, I don't know, what have you been doing lately? Without any judging, without any condemnation, he simply says, okay, let's go. So they head back to Jairus' house. Now, let's look a little bit further here in verse 40. And Jesus said to the crowd, the mourners, the people around Jairus' house, that the child wasn't dead, she was only asleep. And verse 40 says, the crowd laughed at him, and he made them all leave. And he took the girl's father and mother and his three disciples into the room where the girl was lying. Holding her hand, he said to her, "Little girl, get up." And the girl, who was 12 years old, immediately stood up and walked around. And they were overwhelmed and totally amazed. Jesus knows what he's doing. He always does. He does in your life. Whether you understand it or not is irrelevant. He knows what he's doing. And in every instant that we can find in the Bible, when someone came to Jesus for healing, they were healed. Now, I know, first thing people are going to say, well, that doesn't happen today. And apparently it doesn't. And I say that because I'm not naive and I'm not crazy. I know people don't get well and they're sick, and I know some of them are young. In fact, not too long ago, I was looking up someone's obituary because I had to do the funeral. And there in the list was a woman who was 23 years old. That's not old by any standard. And yet she had passed away and died. So I'm not suggesting that this is a cookie cutter kind of approach to sickness. But I am suggesting that if we're like Jairus, who comes to Jesus and asks for healing, we might be surprised at what happens. Obviously, Jairus was surprised, even though he had asked for that, because it says here that they were astounded. They were amazed. They were overwhelmed and amazed that it actually happened. Wouldn't it be better, instead of being amazed, that we said something like, well, it's not surprising. Jesus came in and touched them. When we pray, we ask Jesus, God, to do something on our behalf or someone else's behalf. And when someone is sick, we pray. And in this church, we've seen a lot of people get well. We've seen a lot of people who were really, really sick get well, including me. So there's not a question of whether Jesus wants to heal. The only question is, do we ask him to help out? Now, please understand, I don't have a magic formula for this. I wish I did. But my job is to pray, and so is yours. It's Jesus' job to do the healing. And if we pray and ask him to come into our lives and minister to us in whatever area it is we need, then we can trust that what happens is going to be the right thing. So I hope you'll think about this. I invite you to talk about it within yourself, in your own head, and see if you can hear the words of Jesus speak to you too. Well, if you have a need or a concern, let us know. We'll do whatever we can as fast as we can to help meet your need. Thanks so much for listening. I'll be back tomorrow. Got a couple more of these yet to go, and then we'll move on to another topic. Thanks for listening again. God bless you. I'll talk to you again.